Hey everyone, welcome back. Big news coming out of Warriors HQ as GM Mike Dunleavy Jr. just wrapped up a massive press conference that was loaded with insights and potential shakeups for Golden State. Over the course of about 10 minutes, he touched on everything from Jonathan Kuminga's contract situation to draft moves, trades, off-season strategy, free agency, and beyond. And let me tell you, this gives us so much to unpack on today's episode of Warriors Breakdown. Let's start with Kuminga. No question, that's the headline. Dunleavy made it clear that bringing him back is a priority. He's a restricted free agent, meaning Golden State holds the cards. They can match any offer, but they need clarity and fast. Dunleavy said they'd prefer to get something done sooner than later, which makes total sense. See, Kuminga coming back on a new deal, whether it's $20 or $30 million a year, will really determine what the Warriors can or cannot do in free agency. If they lock him up early, they'll know exactly what room they have left, which helps with planning who else they can pursue to fill out the roster, and make no mistake, they're locked in. Dunleavy spoke highly about Kuminga, saying he and the front office are comfortable with his talent, what he's shown these past 4 years, and what he can bring to the team. But he also acknowledged restricted free agency can drag out, so it's not always pretty. Still, Golden State wants to avoid that messy contract tattling. They want to figure it out quickly for Kuminga's sake, their own scheduling and preparation, and to see what cap space remains for adding new pieces, because once summer's fully here, free agency moves fast. If Kuminga's situation drags, by the time it's resolved, some top targets might already be off the board. Now the numbers themselves are eye-opening. Let's break that down. They have Curry, Butler, and Draymond eating up roughly $140 million in salary cap charges for next season. That's about 90% of their cap right there. Add Kuminga's new deal, say $20 to $25 million guaranteed, and what's left under the second apron might be just $9 or $10 million. That's it, 9 or 10. Under the NBA's complex salary rules, once you pass that second apron, things get very messy and restrictive. So if Kuminga re-signs for big money, the Warriors are basically forced to look at minimum exceptions, non-max deals, young players with upside, veteran minimums, whatever they can squeeze in. That's why they want resolution quickly. If they know they've only got $9 million, they can still pursue, say, a veteran 3-and-D wing or a backup big. But if they sit on the Kuminga decision to long, those types of players might get scooped up. From Dunleavy's angle, clarity is essential. He said getting everyone on the same page early allows them to fine-tune the rest of the roster, who they re-sign, who they need to bring in, what trade opportunities might open. He even made a point to mention guys like Looney, Puna, Armstrong, Peyton Watson, all expected to stick around. The priority order is clear: secure Kuminga, then see what they need around Curry, Butler, and Green. Speaking of Butler, in the off-season, you heard about their pursuit with Jimmy last summer. They pulled off that complicated multi-team deal to get him in here. Dunleavy emphasized that deal was about balancing cap space and flexibility, something they'll lean on again this season. They're open to being opportunistic, ready to jump on trades or suboptimal free agent chances if something unexpected becomes available. But all of it hinges on the shape of their salary cap once Kuminga's deal is done. Defensively, the Warriors were great in the regular season. They finished with the #1 defense over the final 9 weeks, and despite missing Steve Kerr, they showed they can still lock teams down. But playoff performance not so stellar. Wolves exposed them with scorers like Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards, and Fred VanVleet torching Golden State's defense. In for wins, they gave up an average of 115 points per game. Their defensive rating slipped into the 116 range, and shots were going in at 60% or better, numbers just sharper than what they'd normally tolerate. So with free agency, Dunleavy said defense remains priority #1. They need spacing, 3-and-D wings, rim protection. They want help both offensively and defensively. He specifically noted they're on the lookout for a traditional center who can protect the rim, whether that's a veteran like Brook Lopez, Al Horford, or Clint Capela, or maybe someone younger that complements what Draymond provides. They need someone to handle interior defense, allow Draymond to roam, swap, and initiate the offense at the same time. Now talk about draft night. The Warriors don't have their first-round pick. They traded it for Jimmy Butler. That leaves them with the 41st pick squarely in the second round. Dunleavy didn't rule anything out. He said they'll explore moving around in that range, potentially up or back, possibly even into the first round if an opportunity rises. We should expect a 3-and-D shooter or a center. That's exactly what fits their blueprint. But they're keeping their options open. And again, it all comes back to Kuminga and cap space. If Kuminga re-signs for big money, that 41st pick becomes more attractive, low-cost, high Reward makes sense. If not, they'll need to be aggressive finding value there or else pivot into free agency deals. So to recap, this summer for the Warriors is basically defined by the big themes: contract and flexibility. Get Kuminga locked in quickly, ensure they stay under that second apron, and maximize their ability to add role players who can defend and shoot. From there, look for opportunities via draft trades or free agency to beef up their lineup around Curry, Butler, and Green. It's a delicate dance in the salary cap landscape, but Dunleavy and the front office made it clear. They understand where they stand, they know the pieces they need, and they're willing to move fast where necessary. That's the playbook we've been handed. And with draft day right around the corner and free agency not far behind, it's going to be a wild ride. Stick with us because we're going to be here every step of the way, breaking everything down for you. Stay tuned for the next segment where we'll dive deeper into the cap details, possible trade targets, and what the ideal outcome looks like when the dust settles. Now let's go deeper into the reality of the Warriors' salary cap situation and what it means for their flexibility this summer. Golden State is walking a tightrope right now, caught between wanting to stay competitive and being boxed in by one of the most restrictive cap structures in the league. They're operating under the shadow of the second apron, a new threshold that makes it almost impossible to sign or trade for high salary players without major sacrifices. Dunleavy Jr. was clear the financial structure of this team is top-heavy. Between Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green, they're spending nearly $140 million. That's before even touching Kuminga's potential new deal or addressing the rest of the roster. The second apron is a killer. Once you're over it, you can't aggregate salaries in a trade. You can't take back more salary than you send out, and you lose access to certain exceptions like the mid-level. So any move the Warriors make has to be ultra precise. One wrong step and they're stuck without tools to improve. That's why Kuminga's situation is so pivotal. He's the variable. If he signs early, they know how much is left to spend. If he waits, they're flying blind while other teams scoop up the best free agents. It's not just about Kuminga's talent though, he's a valuable piece. It's about timing and cost. If another team swoops in with an offer of 25 or even 30 million, Golden State has to decide, match, and commit to being locked into this core or walk and try to rebuild on the fly with cheaper contracts and role players. And it's not just Kuminga. Players like Kevin Looney, Gary Payton too, and others also factor into the bigger puzzle. GP2 is a free agent, and while he brings that signature on-ball defense, he's not a shooter. And spacing is another area where the Warriors need help. Looney, on the other hand, is reliable but aging, and there's a real question about whether he can keep up with the physicality of playoff basketball moving forward. That's where names like Brook Lopez, Clint Capela, or even Al Horford enter the conversation. These are experienced rim protectors who could stabilize the paint and provide a defensive backbone. But signing any of them requires cap room Golden State just doesn't have unless something changes. And speaking of change, there's the draft. While they don't have a first-rounder thanks to the Butler trade, the 41st pick becomes hugely valuable in this tight financial environment. You can bring in a rookie on a low-cost deal and hope he develops into a rotation piece. Dunleavy mentioned they've been active in scouting and brought in a number of prospects who fit the mold. Think threatened wings or traditional centers. Guys who can defend, stretch the floor, or just play within the system and give you 10 solid minutes a night. Don't expect anything flashy here, but that pick is a strategic tool. If they get it right, it could fill an important role without putting pressure on the cap sheet. Now let's talk style. Dunleavy made a strong point about what kind of players they're targeting, not just the skills, but the fit. Defense still comes first. The Warriors want athletes who can guard multiple positions, switch on pick and rolls, and be reliable on the perimeter. With the way they were torched in the playoffs, Anthony Edwards in the second half, Julius Randle, Fred VanVleet, it's obvious they need help locking things down. And when your team was the best defense in the league for the last stretch of the season, only to get exposed like that in the postseason, something has to shift. The talent's there, but maybe not the right balance. Spacing is another theme. This team was once lethal from beyond the arc. Curry changed the game with his shooting, but now the supporting cast has to contribute. Buddy Hield was quiet in key moments. Kuminga and Moody both shot better, but not consistently, and both are coming off surgery this off-season, so the front office wants shooters who also defend. Think Lou Dort, Caruso, Jaden McDaniels, guys who stay on the floor in big moments, make the right rotations, and don't become liabilities when the pressure's on. Golden State used to have that in Klay Thompson and GP too, but with Klay aging and GP to uncertain, those roles are open. Then there's The coach. Steve Kerr isn't known as a defensive specialist, but someone like Jerry Stackhouse, whose name has floated around, could offer that grit and strategic insight to help balance the staff. And don't forget the internal development angle. If Kuminga stays, this might finally be his breakout year, especially playing alongside Butler and Green, the guys who thrive in structure and competitiveness. The front office knows they need him to take that next step, not just for this season, but to justify the investment and help them survive under the cap crunch. So here's where it all lands. The Warriors are staring down a critical offseason. They don't have flexibility, but they have direction. They know the core. They know the limitations. The key now is making the most of every decision, from Kuminga's deal to draft night to those low-level free agent signings. Every dollar counts, every roster spot matters, and the margin for error is razor thin. But if they get it right, this team could still be dangerous. Maybe not the dynasty-level powerhouse they once were, but a serious threat in the West. One or two smart moves and suddenly Curry, Butler, Green, and maybe Kuminga are back in the mix with a team that can defend, shoot, and close out games in the playoffs. That's the vision. Let's see if they can execute it. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. A seismic rumor is shaking the NBA world. Nikola Jokic, the two-time MVP and Denver Nuggets franchise cornerstone, is reportedly on the brink of a blockbuster trade to the Golden State Warriors. Sources close to league insiders suggest this potential deal could surpass the scale and impact of recent mega transactions, possibly setting new financial records and redefining team dynamics across the league. Jokic's name has long been synonymous with Denver, where he transformed the Nuggets into perennial contenders, dazzling fans with his unique blend of skill, vision, and unorthodox brilliance at the center position. However, whispers have emerged that the Warriors, always aggressive in pursuit of championship pedigree, might be orchestrating a massive deal to bring the Serbian superstar to San Francisco. The idea of pairing Jokic with Stephen Curry and Draymond Green has sent shockwaves throughout the basketball community, as it could create an unprecedented super team capable of dominating the league for years to come. While no official confirmation has surfaced, insiders hint that the financial magnitude of this trade is staggering, rumored to be valued in the billions when factoring in player salaries, future draft picks, and cap considerations. Such a move would not only alter the balance of power in the Western Conference, but also challenge the NBA's salary cap structure, pushing front offices and the league itself to rethink how super teams are constructed and financed. Critics and fans alike are debating the ramifications. On one hand, Jokic's move to Golden State could elevate the Warriors back to their championship heights, combining his unmatched playmaking with the Warriors' signature fast-paced defense and lethal shooting. On the other, Denver faces a daunting rebuilding process without their MVP, sparking questions about the future of the Nuggets roster and their ability to remain competitive. If the deal materializes, it will mark one of the most significant player movements in recent NBA history, reminiscent of past blockbuster trades that reshaped franchises and playoff landscapes. For now, the basketball world watches eagerly as rumors swirl and anticipation builds. Is Nikola Jokic truly set to leave the Mile High City for the Bay Area? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, this potential trade is already rewriting the NBA narrative and fueling feverish speculation across the sports world. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.